What's up, America? Neil here with Geauga Firearms Academy. Thanks for watching. By popular demand, I have Darrell, the fake gunsmith.
That's me.
Back to do another one after our last, interesting video.
It was interesting.
Where Darrell was very reserved about his opinion. So I, off camera, asked Darrell to bring a little more, because when I go see him, you see, it's a little bit different. So not quite there, and not quite last. We're gonna find somewhere in the middle here to get a little more Darrelled up. With that said, just in case this is their first time watching it, and we'll put a thumbnail for or a clicky thing, Kim will do it. Kim does all the technical stuff so that I don't screw it up. But she'll put something in there that you can click on and you can watch the original video with Darrell talking about stuff about gunsmithing. It was a very popular video. So Darrell, you obviously work in your basement as a fake gunsmith, is that correct?
Oh yes, definitely.
All right. Tell them who you really are.
So my name is Darrell. I am a gunsmith. I work at Viktor's Legacy Gunsmithing here in Fairport, Ohio. I'm the lead gunsmith there and also shop supervisor. I want to say we've been doing this about 8-9 years. I've been there for about 8-9 years, and they've been open since 2012. And we do all of the gun things there.
You make them pretty?
I make them pretty. I make them work. We have customers, we make them not work.
Contrary to popular belief from the last video's comments, who said you're fake.
Right.
He actually does this for a living.
All the time, every day.
So the way we came up with this video is you wanted to have some ideas based on your actual gunsmithing.
Actual gunsmithing.
You tell the story. How'd this come about?
So we had a few questions in the last video.
Okay.
And I kind of had this idea. I just took a notebook and I threw it out on the workbench and said, hey guys, when things that come up that are just a little, maybe we should tell other people about this, write them down.
I think he said stupid earlier.
When people do a dumb.
Okay. And so this is the list that we've compiled, and we're going to go through some of the hot points on this.
Oh, yeah.
I've commandeered the list here. There's 3 that just popped out. If you don't mind, I'm going to read them aloud here.
Sure.
If you break your stock in half, there are no magic fixes.
There are not. We can repair a stock, we can pin it, but you're going to see it.
Then I think that leads into the second one that jumped off. Broke is broke.
Broke is sometimes broke.
And then the last one, I think that sums it up all very nicely. There are no magic fixes.
No, sometimes there are some things. There are older guns. There are newer guns that sometimes, like, you buy a cheap gun, it's always going to be a cheap gun. I can't make that into something that it's not.
And later we're going to talk about how we make the high point more reliable. He's got some fixes for that. All right. All right, pick something on here and tell them what you're giving the business.
My favorite did a thing that I see more than anything else is, I was putting these screws in and I didn't want them to come out, so I put an entire tube of red Loctite in it, and now it's stuck. I can't get it out. Or, and this one makes me cringe, or...
Does that mean you're against Loctite?
I am not against Loctite. Loctite is awesome when used correctly.
The whole tube is not correct?
The whole tube is not correct, just a little bit on those leading threads.
All right.
But then if you are trying to get something out and it's not moving, stop. Bring it to us, let us take it out before it's broken.
You see, when I come into a gunsmith or mechanic or whatever field we're talking about, if I can show you that the actual, the screw head is completely destroyed, you know that I gave it the goods. Is that not what you're looking for?
You sure gave it the goods,
yeah.
And now you're going to pay for it.
One of the things that comes up a lot with students when they're adding accessories and that is when they put it on, they just a lot of times just take the accessory, put it on, tighten it down, and ultimately ends up at some point or another in the not too distant future coming loose or coming off.
Believe it or not, a lot of times when you buy accessories for your firearms, they come in a little box, and you open up the box, and there's a piece of paper in there. And do you know what's on that piece of paper?
I will never read such a paper, sir.
There are papers in there that will tell you the proper torque to put that on.
I'm a dude. I don't read instructions.
And you are why I make money.
So I think where you're going with the optic placement, and we'll talk about optics specifically here, and this is pretty much all accessories, but specifically it'll tell you in that little instruction book. If you take the actual accessory itself and then shove it all the way forward on the rail before you tighten it down, you're going to have much better results because that's where the inertia from the gun happens.
Correct.
And if you don't, it's probably going to come off in the not too distant future.
It will probably come off. If not, at least it will come loose.
And the torque thing, when you say proper torque, that means as much as I can do it before I break that piece off, correct?
You're probably going to break that piece off.
There seems to be an industry trick and or secret when it comes to Loctite. And that is that red is not red.
Red is not always red. I know they all come in a red container, or most of them come in a red container.
By Loctite, the company.
Yes. Each one of them has a different function. So you have high strength, you have medium strength, you have wicking, you have all kinds of different Loctites, and they all also have instructions with them on how much to use and where to put it.
So the red colored Loctite in the red bottle, not the blue label in the red bottle. The red on red is not the one I want to put on something if I want to take it off in the future.
Correct.
I'm in my workshop. And I want to put this part on or tighten a part down or whatever the case is. It's got a Torx head on it, but I'm pretty sure I can get a pretty close Allen key in there. It'll probably do the job, right?
It's probably going to get you in trouble.
What if I really crank it down though?
It's probably just going to get really round.
So what should we do? I mean, if you were a real gunsmith, that is.
If I was a real gunsmith, I would say get the proper tools for the job you're trying to do. And when that tool is worn and bent, don't use it anymore.
I like to get drop-in parts because they always drop in.
Oh, they never need fitting.
Never?
They always need fitting. And well, I won't say always. There are some things that are an actual, like if you get an AR trigger, that will be a drop-in. But you know, the drop-in barrel is probably not going to work right off the top.
Now, many people would probably put this under the category of do your own research. But I would put this under the category of don't video or don't YouTube and gunsmith. Meaning, there are certain guns that I've worked on as an armorer, by the way, and prior to being an armorer for Smith & Wesson. Smith & Wesson, you guys know, big fan of their guns. On that particular gun, in the slide itself, it has a plunger safety. And one of the unique things is that on the rear sight, you probably know where I'm going with this. It's really cool because a lot of times it has a set screw and you can generally get those off pretty easy. However, on one side of that slide in the back, there's a spring for the safety plunger and a little tiny cap. That cap, I don't know what it's made out of, but somehow, as soon as it sees daylight, it totally vaporizes.
Gone.
You will never find that, ever. I don't care if the room is completely white and it's sealed, it's gone.
It is.
So going along with that, you also mentioned off camera we were discussing about which gun?
We were talking about the VP9.
And again, this is not about those are bad guns.
Not at all.
What we're saying is, what's the deal with the VP9 in particular?
So on the VP9, there is a little pin that you got to remove from the inside, and it can be pretty hard to do.
But if you've done it before and know it's going to happen, and you've taken it out several times because you do that for a living, it's probably not a big deal.
It is not.
But if someone decides to YouTube and gunsmith,
so there are some repairs and stuff that you're going to look at and you're going to be like, this should be easy. You know, say it was a car like, hey, I'm going to go do my oil change. It's nothing. I'm just going to push these sights off and push a new set on. But once you get into it, you're like, uh-oh, that part is gone. I am never going to see it again. It went flying that way. If you are going to try to do some gunsmithing at home or just some light armor work, by all means, yes. Look it up and, get a schematic, find out where and what all the pieces are, and do all that before you take it apart. And then stop and ask yourself, am I really capable of doing this? Do I need extra tools for do this?
Would I bet my life on this tool and take it into public? or should I take it to a competent gunsmith?
And then, depending on what your answer is, go with that feeling. Like, if you think this might just be more than I can do, please bring it to us and let us do it.
Mm-hmm. You know, the story about that one is the older Ford Explorers have a water pump that fail. Mm-hmm. And the easy part to do that is you just have to remove the engine. No big deal.
It's kind of the same thing. Like, you know, I know a lot of people who are very mechanically inclined and could probably do a little bit more. I know some people who think they're very mechanically inclined and probably aren't as much as they think they are. Either way, and much like your auto mechanic, it's probably going to cost you less to bring it to me and let me do it than it is to do it, try to do it, lose the parts, bring me a bag of gun, and then I'm going to go back in and do it right. It's going to be cheaper in the long run to just bring it to me to begin with. And
if something does go awry, it's your problem, not mine.
Truth.
If the first hammer wasn't big enough, you need a bigger hammer.
Yes, let me use the bigger hammer. Honestly, if you are trying to do some stuff on your own and you get to a point and you're like, man, I can't get this screw out, or I'm trying to get this slide off or this spring out or whatever it is, and it's just not moving. It's hard. It's stuck. Stop.
Bigger hammer.
Stop right there. Bring it to me. Let me fix it correctly.
I would care to bet on that same topic that you've probably seen scenarios where it was probably like a, you know, $3 worth of parts, but then became like your hourly fee and dropping the gun off and doing all that stuff, ordering the right parts that were broken because we got the bigger hammer.
Yep, I see it often.
Yeah, and we went from like a $3 bill to like $300.
It has happened. It's happened quite a bit. We call it, you know, bag of gun. When you bring me a bag of gun. Bag of gun has a minimum price to it, and it's much cheaper to bring me the whole gun.
Yep.
Not broken, and let me just go ahead and do the things, than it is to break it and repair it and go from there.
But I did get to use a bigger hammer.
You did get the privilege of using the bigger hammer.
There's always a silver lining.
So I got a question for you.
Oh, wow. Are we rolling? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So I have a question for you. What's one of the complaints that you hear as a trainer that a lot of people blame on their gun?
Well, unfortunately, I just think it's just the run of the mill. I happen to get the students, and I don't know, maybe from recommendations in the past, but they tend to shop and buy their firearm at the same location because, and I know this, because their particular guns have the same manufacturer defect.
Really?
Which is that they shoot low and to the left.
No kidding.
And they happen to be right-handed shooters. Now, sometimes, I don't know if it's luck of the draw, but some of them are lefties and they shoot low and to the right.
So
weird defect. Really weird.
You just tell them and take them up and go get some new sights, so it'll fix that, right?
They need a bigger hammer.
Or adjust the sights. What do you think causes that?
Lack of training.
Lack of training. If you are shooting low left and stuff like that, and you're, maybe you're getting some failure to feed or some, accuracy issues, and you bring it up to us, and we may not be, sometimes it's a training issue and not a gun malfunction.
I mean, low left, I'm going to go with 99% of the time is you. That is your human reflexes as a human being. We are not natural born shooters, and that's an issue for training. There is without question, there are possibilities that there could be a mechanical issue with it, but low left is generally 99.9% of the time training related.
Training related.
The other thing I see a lot of is that a student shoots, let's just say at a standard bowl, they shoot 3 rounds good, 7 rounds not so good. So they got a 30% good ratio, 70% bad ratio, which is pretty common. And so they decide to change that to get things in their favor. So they go and throw money at the problem, which could be a good thing if that money fell into, and not for us, for any quality trainer, if that fell into the training bucket. But typically it falls into the I want a better trigger bracket.
One of the things that we do at our shop, I will gladly upgrade all of the things that you want done to your gun.
For sure.
I have guns that have very few original parts in it, which we talked about the last time. Actually, most of my guns have very few original parts in them.
The Glock, not so Glock?
the Glock, not so Glock.
Yeah.
But I always try to point people to training and then build your gun to match your training. So I'm not saying that, hey, I've been shooting for a bunch of years. I know if I buy this gun that I'm going to automatically want A, B, C, and D. Absolutely. But I'm also going to say there are people that are, hey, I bought this gun. I'm new to the industry, but I read on the interwebs that if I buy this, I need A, B, C, and D right off the bat. And it's going to make me a great shooter. And you're going to have to put in a little bit of time and a little bit of skills to become the shooter that needs those things.
Without a doubt. I think I kind of equate it like this. Like I always make this joke. You turn 16, right? So you go to hopefully a driving education, right? And you have you're just 16. You don't have a lot of money. Parents help you out maybe, and you're buying an old used car.
Yep.
Well, listen. Going out and getting a brand new Z06 or whatever isn't going to make you a better driver.
Yep.
Same concept. You don't have the experience and training behind you, so it doesn't make any difference.
So I look at that same driver's ed class that we all had to take back in the day, kind of as your carry and conceal class. Like,
yeah,
it's the same kind of basic thing. But if you want to go out and become that good driver, you're going to have to continue driving, put yourself in bad elements, put yourself in different scenarios and stuff like that. And then you learn over practice to getting your way through those situations.
Sure. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Of course, you'll be able to find Darrell and all his esteemed colleagues. We're going to put the link to Viktor's Legacy. So if you are local here in Northeast Ohio, they're in Fairport Harbor. And if you're not, I do believe you guys do shipping.
Yes, you can ship your firearms to us.
And if I'm not mistaken as well, we can have stuff shipped to, like that we buy offline and have it sent to your shop.
Yep, you can send FFL to FFL transfer and we will do your transfers for you.
And you guys know where to find us here on Facebook, Instagram, and Rumble. Of course, we put all our A-list content on Patreon. Until next time, remember, it's always better judged by 12 than carried by 6.